we're only allowed 10. G'day YouTube, we are back for another vlog series here in Woodland Bowl, Indianapolis, Indiana, and this is a big one. This is the US Open. Now, you guys are coming in just a little late. We started yesterday, but you know, Jillian couldn't make it because she, I don't know, had to spend time with her kid or whatever. So she's here now, and what we're going to do is a little bit of a recap. And to fill you in on some of the gaps that maybe you're not aware of for the US Open. So the very first thing to be aware of here at the US Open is that we actually bowl on 3 different oil patterns for qualifying, and then the Cashers round and match play is on a 4th pattern. So the very first pattern that we bowled on yesterday was, how long was it? 44 feet. Today's pattern will be 37 feet. Tomorrow's will be 52 feet. And then the final pattern will be 41 feet. But the thing to notice about these is each of these patterns, not just in length, but they vary very differently in shape. So yesterday's, we had a little bit of a shape. I think it was probably our most likely the highest scoring pattern of all the patterns, and I think the scores reflected that. Today, not so much. Today is 37 feet flat, meaning there is equal amount of oil in the middle as there are on the edge. So it's going to be most likely one of the more hardest patterns that we're going to bowl on all year. And that's what we're bowling on today. And then of course tomorrow is 52 feet flat. So is it flat? Yeah, flat. So again, not only are we seeing the differences in lengths, but we're also been asked very strict challenges. Not a lot of room left and right, not a lot of room with your speed. So you're going to have to bowl really, really well. That's the first thing to know about the US Open. The second thing is we actually have a limitations on bowling balls. And so for the first 3 oil patterns, we're only allowed 10. We have to use the practice session as best as we can, and then we guess. We guess which 10 we think we're going to use for most of the tournament. We do get an option to replace balls going into the 4th round, but for the first 3 rounds, what you pick is what you can use. So let me show you the bowling balls I picked and why I picked them. Okay, so when you're choosing bowling balls, well, a limited amount of bowling balls over 3 vastly different oil patterns. One of the keys is you're looking for possible bowling balls that you may be able to use across the 3 oil patterns. Then you try to fill in some of the other gaps with balls that are very specific to 1 or 2 of the oil patterns. And that can be really tricky when you have 3 different oil patterns that are wildly different. And so the choices that I made, well, technically, for me anyway, I lose one of my options because I use a plastic spare ball. So some of the guys that throw reactive for spare balls or even urethane, they kind of get that extra one spot that a plastic ball, which very, very rarely would you use for your first shot, takes up. But the other 9 that I have is I've kind of tried to also level them out in strength and weakness of cover and core. Again, it's kind of a blind guess. Even though we get the ball in a practice session, it changes every single day. It feels different every single day. So, you know, I've gone from some of the more stronger balls that I have a Sublime Focus, which is a bigger engine, bigger cover. The idea for that is if I need to blend out the back part of the lane, I have a ball that I can do that. I also have a Physics Blackout, same type of deal. A little bit stronger cover. The idea is if they do get a little flat, they do get a little tricky, but I need something with a big engine. I don't want it to go sideways down the lane. Then I move into things like a Summit Ascent and a DNA coil, which is for me, the way that I throw it and how I feel with them, it's a step down for me. Plus, these are 2 that I've used from back home. So the surface of them, they're quite old. They've got a lot of games on them, which again smooths out the overall shape of the bowling ball. So if the lanes get a little trickier, but I need to move left a little bit, I've got those two that I feel pretty comfortable in moving into. Then you go down a step from that and I have the ion and then the origin as well. So when I need to see a little bit more shape, I have one that's a heavier roll-in in the origin, and I have one that's a little cleaner, but still gives me a really nice shape down lane in the ion. So got those covered. And then we go down another step to the Zen 25, and I have a Tour Dynamax? How do you pronounce it? Dynamics. I call it Tour Dynamo because when it first came out, I thought it was called Dynamo, but Tour Dynamics. And those two balls are for me the ones that when I really want to get a little left and I really want to see clean shape through the middle part of the lane, those two are going to give me those best options. And then my final ball is a pitch black, a urethane ball. I think for me, a urethane ball, even if I don't think I'm going to use it a lot, it's one ball shape that you cannot replicate with reactive. You cannot manipulate your hand, you cannot manipulate a drilling or surface changes to give you that urethane shape. So it's hey, I may not need it a lot, but when I do need it, I've got it. So those are the 10 bowling balls that I've got, and I feel like, yeah, it gives me a really nice kind of stair step down through all of the transitions. Ultimately, every day, like I said, is different. I don't know if these balls are actually going to work on every pattern, but those are the 9 that I've brought to the dance. So I'm going to do my best. I give them a little talking to every morning, the ones that I think I'm going to use. I give them a bit of a, it's very cold here in Indy. I warn them, hey, do you want to have a sleep outside in the cold? No? Then you better strike. Otherwise, you'll be in the garden later on. All right, so that's pretty much, the US Open. 8 games a day, that's the other thing I forgot to mention. 8 games a day, lot of bowling, super grueling, super frustrating. You need to be patient, calm, and when you've got to look, you've got to capitalize on it. When you have a good feel and the pair feels good, you can't afford to throw those bad shots in the middle of those games because you're going to hit a lot of rough pairs. The patterns are difficult. So that's really my focus. Wish me luck. G'day, thanks for watching. If you loved this one, check out the rest of the videos from this playlist or any other playlist. Make sure that you like the video and please subscribe if you would love to be the first to catch any of the latest of the behind the scenes and a whole lot of other cool stuff.